Before we begin this video, a quick warning. This episode contains descriptions of violent crimes, including sexual assault. It may not be suitable for all viewers. Please use discretion when watching. Hey, and welcome back to Miss Kitty's Wild West Adventures. It started with a single gunshot, one that killed a man who'd sworn to uphold the law in one of the roughest territories in the West. On July 30th, 1895, Deputy U.S. Marshal John Garrett walked straight into an ambush near Ocmulgee, in what was then Indian Territory. He never walked out again. What followed was one of the most violent and controversial crime sprees in frontier history. A gang of teenagers tore through the territory in a storm of vengeance, leaving behind robbery, rape, and murder. They were called the Rufus Buck Gang, and for 6 bloody days they were the most feared outlaws west of the Mississippi. John Garrett was no greenhorn. He'd served as Deputy U.S. Marshal in Indian Territory, where lawmen had life expectancies shorter than a rattlesnake's patience. On July 30th, 1895, he rode into Ocmulgee, unaware that he was about to walk into a deadly trap. That morning, the Rufus Buck Gang had gathered near Parkinson's General Store just outside of town. They were loaded with weapons and making final preparations for a bold robbery. What they didn't expect was trouble to come to them. Garrett, acting on a tip or simply investigating suspicious activity, approached the store mid-robbery or just before it began. Maybe he recognized someone. Maybe he just trusted his gut. But whatever the reason, he surprised the gang, and they didn't hesitate. Rufus Buck raised his rifle and fired. Garrett fell almost instantly, shot dead before he could return fire. It was a moment that changed everything. The gang had crossed a line, from outlaws to murderers, and the territory would never forget it. Rufus Buck was just 18 years old, a brooding teenager of Creek and African American descent, born into a world full of broken promises. He'd grown up hearing tales of betrayal, how the U.S. government made treaties with the Creek Nation and broke them as easily as snapping twigs. Rufus wasn't alone. His gang was made up of other teenagers, most between 14 and 18 years of age. Lucky Davis, Sam Sampson, Mayoma July, and Lewis Davis. Each had their own reason to be angry, but Rufus gave that anger a direction. He told people he had a vision, that his gang would make the whites sorry they had ever been born. And he didn't mean with protest, he meant with blood. From July 30th to August 4th, 1895, the Rufus Buck Gang wreaked havoc across Indian Territory. They robbed stores and homes, looted wagon trains, and attacked settlers and travelers without mercy. They raped women, murdered at random, and left entire communities paralyzed with fear. One of their victims was Rosetta Hassan, who survived a brutal assault. Her story became a rallying cry for justice. The Rufus Gang wasn't hiding, they were performing. Each act seemed designed to shock and terrify. The U.S. Marshals, already stretched thin, scrambled to respond. Word spread like wildfire, and so did the panic. By the end of their spree, dozens had been affected. Families shattered, lives lost, justice demanded. Their freedom didn't last long. Within days, the Marshals had the boys cornered near Ocmulgee, not far from where they had started. Outgunned and outnumbered, the gang surrendered. They were taken to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and tried before the infamous Judge Isaac Parker, the hanging judge. The trial was swift, the evidence overwhelming. The sentence was inevitable, death by hanging. On July 1st, 1896, the 5 young outlaws walked to the gallows together, all under the age of 20. It was the first and only time a group that young was executed together under federal law. And the crowd? They weren't there to mourn. They came to watch justice drop the trap door. The Rufus Buck Gang left behind a twisted legacy. Were they rebels fighting oppression, or just violent criminals looking for an excuse? Historians still debate it. Some say they were products of a broken system, a mix of native and black, never fully accepted by either community, and pushed to the margins of both. Others argue that no cause, no matter how righteous, justifies what they did. Their story challenges the Old West myth of outlaws with hearts of gold. These weren't charming rogues. They were angry, armed teenagers with something to prove and nothing to lose. And caught in their path was a man named John Garrett, who died doing his duty. Deputy Garrett didn't get famous like Wyatt Earp. He didn't have dime novels written in his honor, but he stood between law and lawlessness, and for that he paid the ultimate price. The Rufus Buck Gang got the rope. Garrett got a headstone. And the rest of us, we got a story that still haunts the pages of Wild West history. If you want more stories like this, where legends are peeled back and truth is stranger than fiction, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you'd like to honor Deputy Garrett today, drop a comment below and say, "Never forgotten." Through the shadows of Indian Territory, through the gallows at Fort Smith, and straight into the darker corners of the Wild West, I'll catch you on down the trail.